Hello and welcome to the AK Compass, where we explore new directions in travel and sustainability. I'm Carolina Zacco, communications and sustainability expert with a decade's experience living abroad and an insatiable passion for discovering new places. I'm joined by Agnes Gardoni, an accomplished journalist who regularly explores the intersections of travel and sustainability.
On this show, we uncover inspiring stories from around the globe and bring you honest, insightful conversations on travel, sustainability, and current events, always with a non-political, open-minded approach. We welcome individuals and experts from all backgrounds to share their experiences about journeying and living beyond borders.
Our sponsor is the Sweet Home Studio. Their services help us make this podcast possible. Their mission is to bring important social topics to Hungarian audiences. They also give new podcasters a special price to support more valuable content. They are based in Budapest, offering full technological support and a great space to make podcasts. We would like to take this opportunity to thank them for supporting our work.
Albert Wettstein is the co-founder and CMO of Munch.hu, a Hungarian food rescue startup that he helped launch in 2020 and scale into a regional platform active in Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania, working with thousands of partners to save millions of surprise packages and thousands of tons of food from going to waste.
Albert, could you please start by sharing a bit about your personal and professional background and how you came to found Munch back in 2020?
So I was a problem solver, I would say, as a kid. And I've never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just became an entrepreneur by an accident because there were problems around me what I wanted to solve. And the best way to solve it is usually to start a business which is solving it. And if you are solving a real problem, people will pay for it. And this is called a company. So yeah, so I my first business was organizing parties for my lonely friends, and then I realized as a very poor university student that I can never know which is the cheapest supermarket. So I created my last startup, which was comparing the prices of all the grocery stores. And then, as a next step, after spending a couple of months in the US, I just realized how huge problem food waste is, and this is something I really want to solve.
Food waste is a very big problem across the world, I guess. And the idea of Munch and also your previous work is very much relevant to it. And I'm a Munch user myself because I can discover other vendors, restaurants that I would otherwise may not visit, and you also give them a very good marketing opportunity. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
And of course, for listeners who may not know it yet, what is Munch and how does it work in practice for users and partner businesses?
So it's an app where you can find all kinds of food products which are in good condition but close to expiry. So it cannot be sold in a couple of days usually, and you can buy it most often with more than 50% discount. And we have two main branches. One of them is the in-person pickup from restaurants, grocery stores, and bakeries. Another one is delivery, as we are also working with food producers who also have a surplus stock.
And so today, Munch operates in Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania with thousands of partner locations and millions of app downloads. How popular is the food rescue via your app in each of these countries? And what indicators do you look at to understand the local adoption?
So building a marketplace like Munch is always a chicken egg problem. You need to balance between the supply and the demand. And when we are monitoring a new country or a new city where we are launching at, we need to be very careful to always give the supply to the people what is sufficient enough to use our application. But also, if a restaurant uploads a package, a surplus food package, but no one is around, we can probably not save it. So we need to focus on the demand and the supply at the same time. This is what makes it really complicated. But also, once you have the network of local food savers, partners, and users, then it can really kick off.
You slightly touched this topic, but when you first introduced Munch in new markets, what were the main challenges you faced? Whether convincing partners, adapting to local customer consumer habits, or dealing with regulation, and how did these challenges differ between the countries?
Yeah, that's a very good question, as we faced really different challenges in each markets. So I would say when we started to scale Munch outside of Hungary, the first thing we realized how similar we are with our neighbors. And the second thing we realized it how different we are from a different perspective. So we have a common history. We are post socialist countries, but somehow the food waste as a topic was very differently handled in the last 20 years, I would say. In Hungary, and I'm very proud of that, food waste was already a topic when Munch entered the market. And we kind of had a smooth way to educate the Hungarian audience about the awareness about food waste. Of course, for some restaurant owners, we had these kind of discussions that, okay, I will never give a discount, I would rather just throw it away. But after a while, people understood that it's a win win situation. We could, I would say, scale it relatively quickly. On the other hand, in Romania, for example, after the communism, stocking up and buying everything in a restaurant or buying everything in a store, having three refrigerators was kind of a status symbol. So I would say the education is a bigger challenge there, as people want to look rich, and part of that is to buy a lot of food what can never eat. So we have to use a different angle in that market. And Czechia and Slovakia is also different. And actually, um, even though Czechoslovakia was one country a couple of tens of years ago, um, they also have a very different approach towards food waste, and the inflation is different, the currency is different. So um, I would say it's really a street by street, city by city challenge where we need to explain and educate people about how not to waste food.
Yes, and I would just like to comment that you're not just helping connecting restaurants and shops with people who want to save food, or if it would help them to get the food at a cheaper price, but also in the broader sense, you're also helping fruit producers and agriculture, because all that water, all those resources and labor also doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, when you're throwing away a portion of food, you're also throwing away all the steps during the supply chain, from the grain to the work hours, the logistics, the gasoline, and the work of the people who are working in the stores and or cooking the food. So it's really much bigger than just the small gesture to putting something away to the waste bin. So, and actually we are wasting more than uh, about 70 kilos per person per year in Hungary, which is more than all the people who are endangered by hunger could eat. So when we think about all these huge scale of wasting food just because of a pure logistic, we realize that it's not just a good business opportunity, but also a real social challenge.
Yeah, and it became kind of fashionable as well to use Munch. So it's not just for poor students.
Absolutely.
It's for environmentally conscious people. It's also for people like me who like to try new things.
Absolutely. it was more like my personal motivation back then, combining the environmentally conscious idea with my life situation. But right now, the most heavy users of Munch are young moms, but also urban adults who like to explore new restaurants and they want to try it with a discounted price. So it's a combination of surprise, exploration, but also being conscious.
Looking back, what were your key breakthrough moments for Munch, such as entering new countries, acquiring or merging with another food rescue app, or expanding your partner network that really accelerated your growth?
I would say the first breakthrough moment was when, after we met the four co founders, we tried to pitch it to restaurants. And when we signed the first restaurant, um, and the guy said that he really sees a big potential in this idea, and food waste is not just our problem, but it's also the problem of our potential customers. That confirmation, the first signature, was really a breakthrough. And then the next step, when the sharks in the Shark Tank show invested in Munch, that was something what really gave us a new wave of energy. And then the next step, as you mentioned, was probably the international growth. That part was always more complicated and tough. But once we joined forces with our key partners in Romania and the Czech Republic, when we merged our companies with like-minded people, it really accelerated our mission. And we also realized that food waste is not just a zero-sum game. It's not the traditional kind of business what we are building, where we are kind of killing each other, but it's all about togetherness. This is how we can solve the problem.
So far, Munch has saved millions of surprise packages, and in 2024 alone, around 1,700 tons of food, while also building a profitable business. How do you balance financial sustainability with the environmental and the social impact in your strategy?
Unfortunately, at this point, Munch is still not profitable as we are investing all the revenue into expansion, but we really aim to change that in a positive way. So it's really a balance indeed, because you want to expand the impact of the company, but you need to find a balance between optimizing on profitability or expansion. And in the last 5 years since we founded Munch, our goal was to bring this solution to as many food businesses and food saver users as possible. But at this point, we need to find the way to make it also profitable from a business perspective, which was always the goal. But for the long term sake of this solution, we need to get there fast.
And what do you think? How many years do you still need for that to achieve
Uh,
that?
That really depends on a lot of factors. I'm not comfortable saying a prediction about that, but our goal is to get there this year. We'll see. Maybe we will raise some more money and invest into launching new markets. We don't want to show all the cards yet.
And the discounts of at least 50% and the partnerships with well known brands make Food Rescue attractive to users and retailers. How do you see these collaborations support your mission, and what do your partners value most about working with Munch?
So really, for food businesses, we think it's really a it's a win-win situation, because we are turning their loss into profit. And also, while new food savers are discovering the restaurant, majority of them buy something else or comes back as a full price paying customer. myself, I also discovered a very funny place, or like lots of places, but one of my favorite is uh, the only Tibetan restaurant in Budapest. I never tried Tibetan food, but besides I saved some food, I also discovered new flavors, which makes it fun and enjoyable. And this is what I hope our partners also like and see via working with us.
Is this a significant discount for restaurants? Is it more like cost recovery, or do they
Yeah.
still make profits?
Yeah,
Because it's
they
like a really big
it's
discount.
yeah. So you cannot really make a profit if you count if you compare it with the full price, but if you see how you would otherwise throw it to waste compared to zero, 50% more is just still a profit. So it's just really a half empty, half full question.
Mm-hmm.
And if you also calculate with the other uh, impact of being part of the platform, the visibility what we bring to our partners, and also the customers who are getting to know their new partners. I mean, the new restaurants is just much more than the money what they get directly from the Munch sales.
Yeah, because they also
Yeah,
reduce impact, as we discussed before.
absolutely.
On your journey from a startup to a multi-country platform with thousands of partners, what have been the toughest problems you and the team had to overcome, and what are the main lessons you would share with entrepreneurs who want to build a sustainable business?
It's a key to find a problem which is not just an environmentally useful thing, but also something what people are willing to pay for. And usually, being sustainable is some extra effort from the end consumer. So, in the past, I can say a couple of examples. If you want to use the solar panels, or you want to buy an electric car, or like buy some sustainable products, usually it's an extra investment. And we really wanted to find something what just easy and affordable, so we can democratize sustainability, or make it something what everybody can afford. So we need to find the emotional and also the financial incentive to make something attractive, and this can accelerate the sustainability. There are thousands of different problems what cannot be solved with this combination of sustainable revenue, but also uh, just focusing on the solution. And those problems should be solved by the states, by NGOs, and non-profit organizations. But I think the for-profit sector also plays a very important role in this puzzle. But we need to know our limits and our playground, and we need to build partnerships either with NGOs or with the government, even if the regulations are supporting it. It can really accelerate platforms like ours.
Yes, and you're also partially owned by the one of the biggest food banks in Hungary,
Yes,
and they provide different services, obviously, because they give donations. But
absolutely.
it's a
It's
great,
part
great
of the
partnership between you
yeah.
guys.
It's part of the same process. If a restaurant cannot sell something for the full price in the restaurant, they can try to sell it through Munch, and majority of them can be solved. But after that, it's still much better to donate good quality food than throw it away. And this is where the food bank plays a very strategic role, and that's why we are working closely together. And even after something cannot be donated, it can turn into biogas, or even for animal shelters, it can be donated with the right regulations and limitations. But there are just better ways to handle surplus food than throwing it away, and it's really a cooperation to change that.
So, in conclusion, we can probably agree that Munch also cares about how food comes to us, but also how it gets to the end consumer, and it also has the right partnerships so that the food that would be wasted would be minimized, and then even when the food is no longer usable, it can still be used as biofuel. And I think that's a fantastic concept and a fantastic practice.
Thank you.
I was wondering, maybe this is a question for the future of the company, but all these countries you operate in are in Eastern Europe. Is
Yeah.
this a coincidence? Did you try to reach out to the Western countries, or is it a future? Is it a plan for the future?
So we always wanted to build a global company, but as my father always said, think global, act local. We started in our own neighborhood, and if we can solve the problem right in our area, in our country, and also in the neighborhood, then we can expand our solution to more and more countries. So our ambition is big, the problem is big, and there are other players who are also solving the same problem in the Western European countries. But we hope to cooperate with like-minded companies, but also launch this solution in more and more countries in the coming years.
Thank you, Albert, for being with us and for sharing your insights.
Thank you for
About
inviting
Munch.
me.
You're very welcome. And we wish you all the best with expanding Munch, and also in Hungary and in other countries and in more countries.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you for being here.
That was it for today's episode. You've been listening to the AK Compass, guiding listeners through evolving ideas and directions. I'm Karolina Tsako.
And I'm Agnes Gárdonyi. Subscribe, rate, and review if you'd like to support us. Thank you for listening.